In episode number 231, we cover Hellboy's 3's future, did I call it? I always call it.
We've also got a mysterious press release from DC Comics on a crossover between DC and Looney Tunes.
We also have some amazing new incentives from Boom Studios for 2017 that pertains to comic book shops.
Our comic book highlight is Super Sons #1, the team that brought you the Reasons I'm Broke critically acclaimed Superman series from the current DC Rebirth.
All of this and much more on today's show. Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel.
For those of you joining us for the very first time, welcome. The way we format our show is first we start out with some news, covering all those things I just mentioned, and we follow up with a comic book highlight of the week.
Your teeths are looking good.
My teeths are always looking good.
It's been, 2 years?
2 years.
Since the last time you went to the dentist?
Yes.
So we need your I don't even know what you call that. It's not yearly, but once a decade, twice a decade.
Bi-yearly. So, me and dentist. I don't hate dentists by any means. I'm not scared of the dentist. I don't mind going to the dentist. I just find it a waste of time. So I never go to the dentist.
Yeah, 4 episodes ago, you mentioned that they always tell you the exact same thing, that you just get complimented on your teeth, and it's a waste.
It's a waste of time.
But you went this week.
I did.
Was it a waste? Any cavities?
No, of course not. So the last time I went to the dentist 2 years ago, I had one little cavity and they filled it. Mm-hmm. Now, keep in mind, before this, the last time I went to the dentist was probably 5 years before that. So I went to the dentist, they look at my teeth, they say, you got one little cavity, we're going to fill it. There you go, done, piece of cake. And other than that, your teeth look great. And they said, do you want to make another appointment? You know, you're supposed to come every 6 months. I'll call you when I'm ready. I just say that so they don't bother me. Mm-hmm. So I went this time. It's like, whatever, I'll just go. I get there, and I waited 45 minutes to get back to this dentist. I don't know why. I was the only one in the lobby. Some guy walked in half hour after me and got called back first. Whatever. So I go back there, and they do all these x-rays, and I hate getting the x-rays done.
Those fucking suck.
They hurt so much, and then they told me this time that I really have a small mouth that, I didn't realize. I thought my mouth was normal. No, it's a small mouth.
No, I think they tell you that because with this particular dentistry, I had extra issues with when I got my x-rays done. And I clearly don't have a small mouth or anything, but I think that they might have just told you that. I don't know what it is about this particular office where they struggle so much in doing the 3D or the x-rays with that fucking plastic that digs into your gums.
Oh, it's horrible.
Did they have to redo yours several times?
They redid 1 or 2 pieces a few times. And my problem, too, is on the bottom of my jaw, 2 of my teeth have a bone or a piece of something that sticks out behind it. I don't know if you have that same thing, too. So when they put in the plastic piece, it's not digging into gum, it's digging into, my fucking tooth bone thing. And it just hurts extra much.
I almost think I would prefer that because every time I get those x-rays, it's real sore and the skin is raised where they had that piece of plastic, especially that last time that I went there. And it took 25 minutes because they had to redo so many of the pieces of x-ray there. And it sucks, man. And you have to do it every single year. This time I got to wait because it wasn't a year yet. But next time I'm going to have to do the goddamn x-rays again. Anytime you switch offices, they're like, well, we got to do the x-rays again to charge your insurance some more. I don't know what the real reason is, but
that's what
I like to think that
because they can't just transfer. They can't just transfer x-rays from another office.
No, they can't. There's a thing that I'm sure there's a reason. We're not dentists, but it sucks that you have to get them done every time and every single year. But aside from that, what else did they do? Just cleaned your teeth?
Yeah, that was it. They did the x-rays, and the whole time the lady's like, wow, did you have braces? Nope, never had braces. She's like, because your teeth, they're really straight. They look great. They're awesome. If I had a dick, she'd be sucking it from my teeth, right? If my teeth had a dick, I guess. So just talked about how great my teeth were, from the x-ray pictures. And then she went in to clean them, and she's like, you don't even have any tartar buildup. Wow! Going crazy over how perfect my teeth were because there was no tartar buildup. I floss once a week, realistically. once a week I floss. I brush my teeth twice a day. I mean, sometimes more than twice a day. Sometimes I'll brush it before and after work and then before I go to bed. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I brush it once a day, like, fuck it. What am I feeling like today? But I use, like, I guess you're not supposed to use anything but a soft toothbrush because the other ones...
What's the difference?
So the soft toothbrushes don't move your gums a lot.
Okay.
The hard toothbrushes will push your gums up. I don't know if you've ever had that happen. I had a big problem with it when I was a kid.
Where you're actually rubbing or you're brushing away the gums, right? Yeah, exactly. I've had that. They've told me that that's happened. I know a lot of friends that they have their teeth like a lot less gum showing, and that's what it is because they're brushing too hard or too high up.
So I definitely use a medium toothbrush or a hard toothbrush if I can get it. I don't use a soft toothbrush. But like she measured my gums and she's like, oh, those are all perfect. You have no tartar buildup. Like there's no plaque in here. I did floss right before I went there. And she's like, your teeth look really great. And she only cleaned them. You know, they put a little brush with it and they clean them. She only cleaned them for about like 2 minutes. Because there was nothing really to clean, because, I mean, my teeth are perfect, right? They're awesome. And then the dentist came in, and she's like, wow, your teeth are amazing. I'm like, I know. So then she's like, all right, are you ready for your 6-month appointment? I'm like, I'll call you.
See you in 2 years, bitches.
Yep. I walked out there like, later, bitches. She's like, well, you really should come back in 6 months. I don't know my work schedule. I'll call you.
Got away again, Kelly.
Yep. I do, every time. It's just a waste of time for me to go to the dentist. And granted, I know that I should probably go at least once a year because it's good for me, but...
Get that fluoride.
Yeah, but they always mention, and this dentist didn't do it, but typically they mention my molar teeth, my wisdom teeth. Yeah. Because they're impacted. Like, they're still under there, and they're all sorts of sideways and all this nonsense. And they're always like, you need to have those removed. And then I was having problems with one day, and I went to the dentist guy. Same one you went to.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not going to do it. And I'm like, aight. So this dentist didn't mention them, which is great, because they never caused me any problems, except for that one time randomly out of the blue.
What do they call them? Orthodontists?
Yeah.
Or whatever he was. Mm-hmm. That guy is amazing. I told that story like 2 years ago here on the podcast, where he's just like, I want to justify the pain that you are going to go through before I do this procedure. If it does not bother you, I will do nothing. It was, I love that. He's just amazing. Straight with you.
Yeah. But I guess I have things called enamel pearls on the back of 4 of my teeth, which is, she even called them cute. She was like, these are really cute. I don't even know what that is. Yeah, enamel. It's just a little pearl, like a little ball made out of enamel on the back of 4 of my teeth. Like, on the top of my jaw.
Is that supposed to happen?
I mean, yeah, I can. Whatever. It's nothing out of the normal, I guess.
Well, while you were getting your teeth not cleaned at the dentist...
They did get cleaned, but they just didn't really need to be cleaned, because they're already super clean.
I've discovered a new channel due to an article that went up on Kotaku, where a Twitch streamer was doing a 24-hour Twitch stream to raise money for Make-A-Wish. Mm-hmm. And he had raised like $2,500. Around hour 22, the guy, told us, just everyone that was watching, hey, I'm going to go out for a smoke. And they discovered the next day that he had passed away, and people suspect that it was from a heart attack, since that's the most common death associated with people that are streaming for long periods of time without sleep. And one guy tried to do a 98-hour stream or something, had to tap out at hour 52 because he passed out. So yeah, this is one of the first major U.S. deaths associated with Twitch. And out of this, because the channel that was featured in this article, they do Twitch fails. So they just did a serious video on, look, this is what the guy was streaming for. He normally did this. He seemed like a nice gamer, never rage quit or anything like that. But I checked out their channel, and there's just tons of Twitch compilations of failing. Twitch fail compilations. People forgetting that they have their camera on, that they went live. So while you see these big streamers getting prepared for the recording, you see them fixing their hair or doing these funny faces just to see what would work, and forgetting that they actually are live already. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of those people falling off chairs, people getting upset and breaking their controllers. And that is my current new obsession on what I'm watching. Because before it was the OJ trial, and now I've got Twitch stream fails. I'm still going back and watching Stranger Things a bit. And I do want to call out some of my coworkers who said that this isn't really a nostalgia highlight fest where they just say, hey, you remember the Millennium Falcon, right? Well, here it is on the big screen. They're like, it's not like that. It takes place in the 80s, but and I'm like in episode 3 or 4, and she's making the Millennium Falcon fly, and they're showing these commercials from the 80s, and I'm like, they are totally cashing in on the fact that, like, hey, you guys remember this, right? It's just like the goddamn, those fruits in South Park. The little member berries?
The member berries.
Exactly like the member berries.
Member stormtroopers.
And it's fine, but just like Rogue One, it is very obvious that they are trying to appeal to your nostalgia. Like, if you want to do a little nod, fine, but when it's on screen, it's the centerpiece and there's an action around it. Just like when you see sponsorship in movies with Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire's one, where he Spidey webs the Dr. Pepper can and it goes flying.
Oh, yeah.
That
there
kind
were
of thing.
like 40 Dr. Pepper cans in that movie.
Or even in Man of Steel, crashing through the Denny's and the Sears, all that shit. So it was just like that in Stranger Things, but with 80s stuff. But aside from that, yeah, the Twitch stream fails. I've been going back and watching a bunch of them. That's sort of been like my addiction lately. Before that, it was the Thug Life, which I will go back to, but I watched all of the kids ones.
You love those Thug Life.
Watched all of the animal ones. And one I saw, the greatest Thug Life animal one, was a camel. There were these two guys, and they were trying to tie this camel down to a pole. And I'd never seen this, and I didn't know camels had this strength. But he got pissed off, and the camel picked up the man using his mouth, picked him up by his head, where the whole mouth was covering like his entire head. Like the guy couldn't breathe, and he picked him up, and you see the guy's like arms and legs kicking and flailing, and the camel like churns and tosses him with his mouth off to the side. And that was the most incredible thing I had seen in like months. He could have just held him up there, and the guy would have just suffocated and died.
Like, that would have been it.
But the camel was like, no, fuck this. And then they did the Thug Life thing. It was so fucking great. Put the little like blunt on him, the sunglasses, but they put it on his hump instead.
Boy, what would we do without the internet? What did we do?
We did okay.
What did we do before the internet?
Played a shit ton of video games.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember here. We played outside. We went to the park.
We'd get on our bike and like go down the street and bike around with our friends.
And now I wish we had the power to like relive childhood in current times just to compare how your childhood was. What was good, what was bad. I mean, there's pros and cons to both. I know a lot of people say like, well, nowadays kids don't go out and play. It's like, right, but they have the internet, they have computers, they have information.
You think they don't use it for information? They use it for Thug Life videos and memes.
A lot do. Look, when I taught in that, what was it, a year that I taught middle school and high school, it was, these kids knew a lot. They knew a lot. When I was substitute teaching, it was like, shit, man, when I was your age, I did not know as much shit as you do. And it's because of the internet, because they have computers. If they get bored, they can look up, even if it's a Wikipedia article, you can look up the sources, but they will learn shit. If they're bored, it's not always going to be YouTube and Twitch and, you know, as we were kids, Nickelodeon. Sometimes they do fucking research stuff.
So talking about when we were kids, we have another hashtag game this week. We actually have 2 hashtag games this week.
We do. That was a great transition.
That was the best transition, right? I am can I tell you, so talking about transitions, right? There is a class that I took at work. I had to take it 2 different years. And it was a transition, like, it taught you how to make great transitions in this class because it was for public speaking and for teaching, facilitating, that's what it was. And when you're facilitating, if you're facilitating with someone else, you have to learn how to translate between them. Can I tell you, I was the fucking master at that class. Like, at the end, there was a game where it's like, who can transition the best? And I could make, like, something out of nothing. I'm like, give me that bullshit. Here you go. There's your transition, assholes. And everyone was like, oh, Kelly, you're so great at this. I'm like, fucking no. Like, I dropped the mic, showed him my perfect teeth, and, like, peaced out.
You just showed off that skill here on the podcast.
I did. Moral of the story is I'm great with transitions. So, talking about our childhood, our hashtag game, one of our hashtag games this week was hashtag 90s in 5 words.
So my submission was To the Moon and Back, the musical hit by Savage Garden. Mm-hmm. You think 90s, Savage Garden is one of the bands that pops up as far as music.
Absolutely. Was that your favorite song by them?
From that album, yes. I Want You was another one, which I believe was bigger than To the Moon and Back, but I Knew I Loved You was their biggest hit ever.
I loved you before. Is that one?
That's the one.
Aww.
You still hear it in at IHOP, wherever you are, whenever they're talking about love songs. That always pops up by Savage Garden. But, that's the one I'm like, oh, that's 5 words. I like that song, sure.
We do have some submissions from our brokettes, though. First one comes from Matt from the Super Side Up podcast, who says, grunge, OJ, Clinton, comics crash. So speaking of grunge, too, we had to look up what grunge was. And it came up with Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Entertain us. Here we are now. Entertain us.
So we watched this video, and then that led us to Weird Al's version, which was way better. And then I think we watched Weird Al videos for an hour.
Yes, fell into that. And he's still making shit.
He's still making shit. Absolutely. It's been about 2 years since he's made an actual video recreation.
That's true. The production back then, when, of course, he was making more money, I'm assuming, was astounding. Like, you saw you even asked, is that the same set from the Michael Jackson song Beat It? As he was doing Eat It?
I'm pretty sure it was.
And maybe you could get, maybe he just rented that space and then moved on, and then anyone else could rent it and film whatever they wanted. So yeah, fucking Weird Al. The most recent one that I really enjoyed was the take on Fancy. What did he call it though? Handy.
Where it was made to be like a cheesy commercial for a handyman or something. Yeah.
Like an infomercial, green screen.
The first one I ever saw from him was white and nerdy, and I think it's still one of my favorites because he's trying to be such a gangster, but he's just white and nerdy.
Also, OJ, yes, of course. The Clinton. I knew more about the Clinton scandal as a child than the OJ Simpson trial.
Yeah. I don't remember. Granted, I was really young when OJ happened, but I do remember Clinton pretty well.
I never knew what he did, though. Because no one would explain to me. No one would explain to child Daniel, he got a blowjob. Nobody would ever tell me.
I didn't know what he did. I just knew he did something with another woman who wasn't his wife.
Exactly. That's all I knew.
Right.
And something about a blue dress, which again, no one told me. Because no adult is going to tell a child, he got a blowjob and he came on her dress. No one is ever going to do that. So it appeared in Time for Kids. We used to subscribe in the classroom to Time for Kids, and they talked about the Clinton, whatever they call it, the scandal. And the teacher just said, look, you guys can read this portion of the Time for Kids at home. If your parents want to explain it to you, okay. Now I look back on it and think, why did Time for Kids even mention the Clinton scandal at all?
So that you would know. So that nobody would follow in his footsteps.
And the comics crash with the overprinting of comics. Tons and tons of variants. You'll have a lot of scared, I don't know, not necessarily retailers, but a lot of comic consumers who are saying, we're going right back to that. It's going to be the 90s crash again. No, it's not to that level. It's not even close to that level. And as we've seen, the quality of story as well is far surpassing what was going on in the 90s. That hype of, I need the holographic cover and I need this. Yeah, we're getting the 3D covers with the DC Rebirth Watchmen crossover, but that's not happening every month. No. That's not happening every other month.
Thank goodness. Our next 2 submissions come from @EAntonOfficial.
Yeah, that's his Twitter handle. He submitted 2. First was, Pogs are legal school gambling.
Damn right they were.
It seemed like every time I gained Pogs when I won some, it'd always be shitty Pogs. Like, it would always be like those cardboard ones that would fall. I mean, they were all cardboard, but the ones that were like already flimsy
super
and
bendy,
shitty and like water damaged.
Wasn't, when N64 came out, didn't you have to collect Pogs to win it? Wasn't that what they were?
I think there was a contest, yeah.
I was so mad. I got to like 65. Okay, you think I eat a lot of Taco Bell now. I still eat more Taco Bell than I did back then. But I had a lot of Taco Bell back then. And I would go all the time and collect my Pogs because I really wanted to win that N64. And I got to like 65. Of course, they never gave you the right numbers to get to 64.
Oh, it was one of those, like...
Every time you ate there, you got Pogs with different numbers on them.
I see.
Then if your Pogs added up to 64, you won the N64 package.
That's pretty brilliant. That's awesome.
It was so cool.
Because at the end of the day, you got fucking Pogs.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I never played with the Pogs. I just like collected them and I'm like, cool, Pogs. See, I have anxiety about things like Pogs and stickers. I have sticker anxiety. Do you have sticker anxiety? Am I the only one?
I think it's you.
I can't I can't get stickers because then I just leave them on the paper because I don't know what I want to stick them to. Because what if I stick them to something and then I want to stick them to something else? And Mom used to think I didn't want my stickers or beads. Like, I can't make anything out of beads because what if I want to make something different out of it? So I remember once she got me this huge packet of beads. It was cool. It had stars and moons and shit that girls like, right? And I never used it because I had bead anxiety. And she just gave it away one day because she thought I didn't want it. I was like, damn.
The next submission from Eric is, call girl, her dad answers. And he continued by saying, kids today will never know the fear of having to call their crush's house phone.
That's horrible.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Very true. Now you text them, you Facebook them, Twitter, Snapchat them, send them, I guess, dick pics. I don't know what the kids are doing now.
Is that what they do, just sending pics?
They all turn into the fucking cast of To Catch a Predator.
I have another funny story I heard about that too, but I'll skip it for today. So, the other thing that sucked too is you had to call your friends after 9 p.m. when the phone was free. Because there was a general rule you can't call anybody before or after like 9 in the morning and 9 p.m.
Right.
That was the general rule. So you used to have to tell your friend, like, all right, I'm going to call you right at 9. And then they had to be there to answer the phone real fast so it wouldn't wake up their parents because all parents go to bed at 9 for some reason.
Yeah.
And then you'd start talking and then your parents would be like, it's bedtime. And you tell your friends, all right, gotta go. But then you'd hide it under your blankets and like wait till your parents walked away and kept talking. Did you ever do that?
No.
I used to do that shit all the time. I used to be on the phone with my friends for hours and hours every night. And then we'd just get up and go to school together. It's a girl thing. I don't know.
You had your own submission for 90s in 5 words.
I did. I said Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network.
Enough said.
That's all we watched. And those are the best shows. I was talking with somebody the other day. The Disney Channel original movies had great life lessons back then. Like motocross, girls can do anything boys can do.
I remember that, but I wasn't a kid when I saw that.
Whatever. I was a kid.
For me, it was Unsolved Mysteries.
Those are spooky. Arthur taught you great life lessons. That was PBS, though.
I loved Arthur. Yes, Arthur was great.
Rugrats.
90 Minutes?
Who watches 90 Minutes?
I had a weird childhood.
Wasn't it 60 Minutes?
Whatever was on television, that's what I would watch. And yeah, it was 60 minutes.
60 minutes. 90 minutes is too long. Nobody would sit through that.
Don't forget, Brokettes, to participate in our weekly hashtag games. And if you do, you have a chance of being featured right here on the podcast. If you think I can come up with a way better one than Unsolved Mysteries, participate. They go up on Facebook and they go up on Twitter. Facebook.com/TheReasonsI'mBroke and @ReasonsI'mBroke.
Our last hashtag game for this week, though, is hashtag If My Laptop Could Talk.
So my submission on this one was, I'm for more than just your podcast, you know.
That is true. That is exactly what it would say to you. We do have one submission from Matt from the Super Side Up podcast who said, I'm more than just your private browsing history, you know. Mine would probably say, I still exist. I think I break that thing out once a month when my phone will not handle the capacity of whatever I need my computer for.
All right, listeners, let's kick it off with our news this week. Lighter news week, so we do have a few pieces here, and a lot of that, some of which is a disappointment, and we're going to talk about the comic industry as a whole.
This first part of the news, I like to consider another hashtag game called hashtag Kelly Called It, hashtag The Wife Is Always Right. So, director Guillermo del Toro has announced that talks to get Hellboy 3 going have failed.
This actually shocked me. It really did.
No, it didn't shock me. How many of the things Guillermo... And I love Guillermo. He's one of my favorite directors. He directed my favorite movie of all time, Pan's Labyrinth. But what percentage of the time does he actually do something he says he's going to do?
But there's a difference between him going on a project as director and then dropping off, and him saying, okay, this is what we're going to do, and this is my project, and let's go out and do it. He did Pacific Rim. The last time that I remember that he dropped out of something that was like his project was Haunted Mansion. We never saw that come to fruition, and I would have loved to have seen a Del Toro Haunted Mansion.
It would have been great. He would have thought of the best monsters, like in Pan's Labyrinth.
Would have been creepy as hell.
Probably would have saw a nod to the Pale Man. Creepy ass pale man.
Well, the other thing too is Ron Perlman is all for doing Hellboy 3. So you've got your star all lined up. You've got your director. Now you just need your studio. Even if the rest of the cast doesn't return, and you know Doug Jones will return. That's Guillermo's guy. But everything else, it's just fund this thing. Guillermo, don't ask for too much money this time, like last time, and you'll be fine. But instead, in a tweet on February 21st, his Twitter handle is @RealGDT. He actually said, quote, "Sorry to report, spoke without parties, must report that 100% the sequel will not happen, and that is to be the final thing about it," end quote.
No further details were given as to what parties involved didn't want to be involved in getting the project off the ground.
It had to be funding.
Oh, I'm
Had
sure.
to be funding.
Of course it is. Because he probably, even if he didn't ask for too much, they probably thought it was too much, and it's been so long since the second one, and really where's the hype and the people asking for it? I get that it's on Twitter, but it's not going to happen.
Apologies to Hellboy fans, but you still have the comics, and you still have Hellboy 1 and 2. If those keep on going, eventually maybe there will be another feature film many years down the line. Who knows? But aside from that, we got Hellboy live action movies that were actually decent.
I still never seen them. I probably should.
You might like the first one. If anything, for Dougie Jones.
Is there a love story?
There is.
Then I'll like it.
All right, moving on to a comic shop owner who is not happy with other comic shop owners sharing the state of the industry with the world.
In a Facebook post from Jesse James, owner of Jesse James Comics in Glendale, Arizona, he urged retailers to stop submitting articles on the state of the comic industry.
Here we are quoting a portion of the post, which read, quote, "To my fellow retailers in the comic book industry, stop writing articles about your business and why it's not successful. It's plain and simple. Sales solve everything. Your analogy of why your business is in the tank isn't going to sell you more books. I've read over 10 articles in the last 10 days from retailers on major pages that have no clue on how to progress or adapt to the times. Not one retailer even talked about better customer service or how they are going to better their business to their customers abroad. Stop blaming DC or Marvel for your sales decreases. Stop blaming a president of a company for his speech. This has no bearing on your sales. Stop and look in the mirror and challenge yourself to be a better retailer for your customers. Stop using a wholesale market share chart to base your orders on. Start being smarter on your purchases. Start coaching, teaching, and inspiring your customers daily." End quote.
That's amazing, and I feel that there is a lot of truth to that.
Yes, I agree, but there's also, the issue is not just stop blaming everyone, do better yourself, because you can blame the publishers for the shenanigans that they're pulling. It's not just, well, just do a better job at being a comic shop retailer. That's easier said than done. Mm-hmm. I mean, owning a comic shop, which we don't, but it's all a guessing game as far as what you want to order, how many books you want to order for your customers, how many you think would sell. Tomorrow, a new Hellboy #1 relaunches. How many should you order? Well, best of luck. Whatever you don't sell, you've pretty much lost out on. If you order too many, whatever you sold is now not going to cover the loss of you bought too much. Or whatever you let's say you order 10 copies and you sold all 10 in the first day. Okay, well that's that much money I lost, whereas I could have been ordering more and making more money. Mm-hmm. So it is about spreadsheet ordering. I know he says, stop using that as a way to order your books, but it's a difficult business to be in. It's a difficult thing to predict as far as trends. Whatever you think will sell, suddenly people don't buy for one reason or another. And some of that could be attributed to publishers who are busting out books like crazy, and that's a call out to Marvel, of characters that people are not as interested in.
I agree, and I see that line of thinking, but I think what he was trying to really push home too is there's a big fear that a lot of people are leaving the shops for digital only. If you make your shop and your workers and teach them to be a very welcoming place for people, how many customers do you think you have in the shop that are loyal to you guys because it's your sales team?
I'd say a pretty good majority of it has to do with who they're buying from. And that's where that stereotype comes of the comic shop that's dark and small, and it's got that guy behind the counter just sitting watching a movie. That stereotype exists for a reason, because for many years that was the comic shop.
Exactly. And there are probably still shops that haven't pulled away from that.
Absolutely.
Shops that don't understand, hey, if I make this a welcoming place, if I make these people feel like we're their friends, like their family, they're coming in to learn something new every day. You know, my employees are taking time to spend with these people, then yeah, you're going to get that loyalty, those people who are going to keep coming back to you. And so I think it's a little bit of both that he's saying, that if the retailers are better in that aspect, you know, service industry, stores, everything else is not what it used to be able to be because we have the internet. You really have to have personal with people and make it an experience rather than, oh, this is the only place I can go to get this, so this is why I go. A great example is grocery stores. My mom goes to Publix. It's the most fucking expensive grocery store I've ever seen in my life. Like, nothing is cheap there. But when she goes, everybody greets her. Everybody asks her if they can help her find anything. If there's a food they don't carry anymore, she says, can you get me this product? And they will order in that product specially for her.
What Publix does she go to? Because I don't get greeted.
Oh, well, you're you. But all Publixes will order in whatever food you want if they don't carry it anymore. You just say, I want this. This is how many I want, and they will special order it and call you when it comes in.
So even stuff that you can find at Whole Foods but not at Publix, they will order for me?
I'm sure.
So exclusive drinks, like Mr. Riggs would agree with this. So jarritos, can I order Mexican sodas that I can find at like Targets into Publix?
Probably. They'll probably charge you more
I'm
for
going
them.
to give them a fucking list of all this stuff that I've been wanting for years that I haven't been able to find. That's what okay, continue with your story. I learned something new.
No, but yeah, give them that list. See what they'll order. Like, it doesn't hurt to go in and ask them. But I know they stopped carrying something at one point that my mom purchased every week. And they're like, hey, I need this. And every week they had it in for her again. And fun fact about Publix. Oh my God, I can't believe I just thought of this. So my dad worked at Publix for like fucking years, right? And like knew all the big wigs and stuff. And somehow they still knew about him. So do you know how you can get tea bags without the sticker, like the tag on them?
Okay, yeah.
Have you ever seen that? So you can just throw them in the pot? That was my mom. Fun fact. My mom told Publix, stop using these fucking stickers. Like, then I just gotta fish them out.
So that was because of her?
Yes. She sent them a letter because she knew the guy. And the guy's like, oh, this is brilliant. Saves us money.
I think Jesse James does have a point to it. Yeah, comic shops do need to focus on customer service. And the fact that not one mentioned, according to him in these articles, that they need to focus on customer service as well is a big thing. But to be fair, a lot of the articles that have been coming out on Newsarama or Bleeding Cool about retailers talking about the industry, it's these websites asking them, what do you think about DC doing this? What do you think about the state of returnability? What do you think about variants? It has nothing to do with their comic shop. If you want to make an article about customer service in your comic shop, you're going to see those articles. But that's not what gets them clicks. And that's why you haven't seen those articles. The other thing I've also been noticing on Bleeding Cool is they like to put up an article on this comic shop in this state closed this week. And they always find the shops that are closing and make a whole article about it. And I tweeted them and I said, how about an article about the latest comic shops that have opened? New comic shop opens in Austin, Texas. New comic shop opens here. I know it's not going to get you the clicks that you are looking for, but let's just see what happens when you put out something positive. Now I'm seeing articles on those closing ones like, well, that's what's going to happen now. That's the state of the industry. That's where comic shops are going. No, why don't we talk about the new ones that are opening?
I definitely agree. But unfortunately, we live in a society that loves their doom and gloom.
They love
doom and gloom. And like you said, that's what's going to get them clicks. But I definitely think that, yes, we may not like where the industry is going right now. But as with anything, you evolve, you adapt, and you move on and you find a way to make it work. I would love to have someday, you would have to partner with me, half comic book shop, half bar or coffee shop. Because then you could mix your comic book experience with my food industry experience. And then when the comic shop closes at night, then you got your bar, and then both can help support each other.
Even if you don't do the bar portion of it, the cafe, like keeping them in the store, like read your comics right now and go to the cafe portion of it. And then you're getting, keeping more money in the store by having them buy special drinks. And if you want to theme them up and be cheesy, like the Incredible Hulk, whatever, smoothie, and it's like a green smoothie, fine. But actually, I think you get in trouble for doing that.
Well, the thing about that, too, is if you make the cafe good enough, you have people coming not even for the comic shop. They come for the cafe.
That's true.
They're like,
yep.
I heard you had some great drinks here, great coffee, great whatever. They come for the cafe, and then they go, oh, here's a comic book shop right here. Let me browse through. With all the nostalgic stuff that's out right now, Power Rangers comic books, all the pops, all that stuff, there's something in there for everybody. Nobody take my idea.
She called it.
I called it.
I'm sure there aren't any other comic shop cafes out there at all.
I've already started working on my menu, too. I just need money. So if you guys head over to patreon.com,
we'll make that goal
donate
number
some
6.
money. What if I did like a GoFundMe or something? You think people would support me for this?
Not at this moment. No, I think we need to wait longer and
actually come up with my menu. How much money would we need? I should research this.
A shit ton.
Like 200,000?
It takes a lot of money.
Because you got to rent the space, you got to buy all the equipment,
inventory,
shit.
marketing.
I'm just thinking of like the equipment. Damn.
So moving forward to the future of the DC Comics solicitations and the industry as a whole, they've talked about Batman's Metal Arc line this summer being delayed, and we still don't know if the Watchmen are going to be the big summer event for DC, but they have released 4 images of a different type of crossover between DC Comics and the Looney Tunes characters.
All we were given were names and covers.
That's it. And stay tuned,
Yes.
is all it said.
These covers included the following: Jonah Hex and Yosemite Sam, Martian Manhunter and Marvin the Martian, Lobo and the Roadrunner, Batman and Elmer Fudd.
4 comics, 4 crossovers. Last time we saw the DC characters with the Looney Tunes characters was about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, where they did the Looney Tunes variants.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're actually going to get stories featuring these characters interacting with one another, and what I think are going to actually just be one-shots. I think it's just going to be a one-shot, maybe, $3.99 story of these 2 characters interacting and having fun, and it's going to be light. There's no way. I mean, do you think these are going to be darker stories from looking at the covers?
No way. The one I am most excited for is Lobo and the Roadrunner.
Finally have the Roadrunner get his?
Yeah, so the cover is great. You have Lobo there with Wile E. Coyote, and they're looking at a picture of Roadrunner with the big old circle with the line through it, and they're like, gonna fucking get him. But they don't know that it's the Roadrunner. Come on.
Of course.
Really? You think Lobo's gonna catch the Roadrunner?
The Coyote is so desperate, he hires a space bounty hunter, Lobo, to try to catch. That's gonna be a fucking fun book.
Oh, it's gonna be so much fun.
I totally agree. I don't know how Batman Elmer Fudd's gonna work. Fudd's got guns, so maybe Batman's gonna stop him from that.
I was never a big fan of Elmer Fudd because he was just chasing Bugs Bunny.
Is he gonna hunt, what's his name? The Mad Hatter?
Maybe.
Sort of rabbit themed?
I don't know.
Or what's her name? White Bunny or White Rabbit The Dark Knight?
I don't like her. No. I don't know what he's gonna do. I never really saw him as a villain. I just saw him as an incompetent, old man.
I think the one that's gonna probably sell the least is Jonah Hex, Yosemite Sam.
Yep.
Not quite as sellable, but no release date has been given for these 4-book crossovers.
Switching to some great news in the comic industry, and as we mentioned at the beginning, at a special presentation with retailers at the annual Comics Pro meeting, comic publisher Boom Studios revealed that certain titles will be 100% returnable.
We have a quote here from Philip Sablik, who is the company's president of publishing and marketing, who said, quote, "No order minimums, no order matching, no tricks, just full returnability. That's the core of the Boom Guarantee program launching this April and open to any retailer. We'll send you a free floor display. You'll also get 1 piece of paper from us that lists 6 fully returnable comic books. The paper will also have recommendations for how to merchandise and sell these titles. Then in May, we'll send you another piece of paper with 6 more comic issues that are fully returnable without any strings attached. And every month, you get more new opportunities at no additional cost and no obligation."
This is a company that gets it. Here's how to market our books. Here's how to sell them. Because the more you fucking sell, the more money we make.
And there's a full presentation, quote, word for word, available. If you go to Bleeding Cool, you will find the presentation and exactly what he said. But he essentially had this meeting with retailers and he said, these are the 4 major things that all of you say are the problem right now with all of the publishers over publishing books. the variants, returnability, and every single bullet point, he said, this is our solution and what we're going to do. And he ended it by saying, last year, you, the retailer, trusted in us and awarded us with our largest portion of the comic industry yet, as far as percentages, in the company's history. So because of that, we have to support our brick and mortar stores because they're the ones that are actually selling our books. He went all in and gambled on brick and mortar as opposed to, the digital industry. And this is sort of like his call of all publishers should be following a program similar to this, as opposed to order a minimum of 100 copies of this comic and then we'll make it returnable. Because some publishers have done that in the past. The big two have done that. And the problem with that is shops that are struggling to meet maybe month for month have to wait months until they get that returnability credit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you spent the money on 200 copies of an issue, but you're waiting 6 months before you see the returned portion of what you didn't sell actually come in. And on his end, he says, no order minimum. So if you only order 25 copies and you sell 10, return the other 10 or keep however many you want for your back issues. And it is this initiative that is going to give greater confidence in retailers to order for places or publishers like Boom Studios. If you aren't afraid of losing money and you are going to find the ceiling on a certain book and find out how many you can actually sell each month, the retailer will love you. They love that shit. And this is why the DC Rebirth stuff was great, because order as many as you want of number one, whatever you don't sell, return. And that's what helps you figure out, because we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know how many we're going to sell. That will help you determine what you're going to order for the next month and the next. So yes, Boom Studios, huge thumbs up. They've actually cut down on their comics published because they don't want to flood the market with, 3 copies of Lumberjanes and 2 miniseries and 4 copies of Adventure Time over here. They instead cut down and said, let's focus on the core titles, the strongest selling titles, and kind of grow them and foster those sales.
That's so smart, and I love that that's what they're doing. And you're really going to see that with a smaller company like this as opposed to DC or Marvel, who's just going to say, yeah, we got the money, just send them out.
Well, with those publishers, they have a line of sales that they have to meet because they are a larger company. There are people that own them that are looking at this and saying, why is our revenue this much now, whereas before it was this? Without taking into account, like, okay, well, that month there was an annual event, or we had a comic book event, or well, why don't you guys just have more events then so we can keep our sales up? And that's why you see so many events so often, especially on the Marvel side now, where one event finishes, the Monsters Unleashed is still on their way. Not only have they announced the next big event, but the one after that as well. So it's like you're killing your sales for the following event by announcing the one afterward. It makes readers think that it doesn't matter. Whatever happens here won't affect that future of that character or these teams. So there's a lot of problems right now with all publishers, and it's Boom more or less just saying, count on us, take your chance, and you won't really lose because you can do all of these things. Here's all the returnability. Here's a display. Best year ever. Let's keep that going. Let's grow it up higher than 20% and just keep on going. So good on Boom Studios.
Yes, great job, Boom. You can have a special drink in my comic cafe.
And with that, listeners, as I mentioned, there was a smaller news week, but we do have our Patreon shout-outs of the week.
This week, they go out to Eric, who is at eAntonOfficial, and Brian, who is at BrianShoup1.
Be sure to follow Eric, who's been putting up some awesome Jason Alexander retweets. He played George on Seinfeld. And also Brian, who's been putting up the new Overwatch New York Toy Fair retweets. So you see the latest figurines that have come out of Toy Fair. Definitely check that out. Again, that's at eAntonOfficial and at BrianShoup1.
If you too want to be a Patreon supporter for as little as $1 a month, that's 25 cents an episode, you can head over to patreon.com/thereasonsimebroke and donate there.
We are currently already over halfway to goal number 3, which is essentially helping us pay for the newly launched website that we talked about last week with the new merchandise that just went up. And huge thanks to listeners who have already picked up a shirt or 2 or 3 at thereasonsimbroke.com. So that's what goal number 3 is for. It's going to help pay for our yearly annual renewal for having that website up. We also want to thank DecalAvenue.com for helping us out with the $5 decal reward tier. Those Legend of Zelda Gold decals are already out and on their way. And there's going to be a poll for the next set of decals. But that's only if you're a Patreon backer at patreon.com/thereasonsimbroke.
We also want to give a big thank you to our 23 reviewers on iTunes. Thank you for those 23 reviews. If you guys haven't reviewed yet, head over to itunes.com. Leave us a review. It helps other people find us.
As a reminder, our podcast will always be free. If you're finding that, I really can't join the Patreon campaign, leave us a review on Stitcher or on iTunes, as you mentioned. Really helps new listeners find the show and pushes us up on the Games and Hobbies podcast list.
And of course, guys, the best thing you can do for us is always talk to us on Twitter. Let us know what you like, what you'd like to hear some more of. We do this podcast for you all. So head over to Twitter. @ReasonsI'mBroke is the main one that Daniel manages very, very well. And @PalpaKelly is the one I never check. I mean, I check sometimes. When Daniel goes, "Did you check your Twitter?" No. That's when I pull it up. But please, hit us up on there. We will always answer your replies.
And on to our comic book highlight of the week with a brand new number 1.
Yes, this was Super Sons number 1, written by Peter J. Tomasi with art by George Jimenez, and the colorist is Alejandro Sanchez.
This is the spin-off, long-awaited comic. It had been delayed for many, many months. We didn't know who exactly was going to work on it. At one point, Dan Jurgens was attached to do Super Sons. But now, finally, we saw the shift over to Peter J. Tomasi, who handled very well the characters of Damian Wayne and Jonathan Kent, along with Pat Gleason, in the current Superman ongoing. This title is no exception to the fun that we are seeing that started with the Superman issues. This is Damian Wayne and Jonathan Kent going off on younger than Teen Titans adventures, going to school, getting in trouble. And as you said 2 years ago when they announced the book, like a year and a half ago, that this is going to be Jonathan Kent going, "No, we're going to get in trouble." And it's almost exactly what happened, word for word, in this issue.
Of course, it's Damian Wayne running around going, "I'm bored, so I'm just going to fucking stalk you at school." And Jonathan learning about his powers and learning about how he needs to interact with other people. And then Damian goes, let's go do this shit. Come on. And he's like, no, we can't do that. But then he goes along with it anyway because Damian's going to bully him into it.
And as we've seen with the solicitations, first villain, Lex Luthor. The parents are going to get involved.
Of course.
But first, Lex Luthor has to go after the Super Sons.
You know that's going to happen. Superman's son, I got to, chase him too, because I have a hard-on for Superman and whatever.
Do you predict any more Superman loves Batman moments in the future? Of course.
There was one in this book. You didn't catch it?
No, I missed it. So, do we need the theme?
Yeah, go ahead.
Theme song.
So when he's talking to Jonathan, because Jonathan's talking about how, I stood up for this kid in school and I was really good and I didn't use my powers. And Clark says, you don't need an S or a bat on your chest to be a hero. He could have just said you don't need an S on your chest to be a hero. Leave Batman out of it. But no, we had to bring a Batman in that conversation too. I can't believe you missed that.
How's he love Batman in that, though?
Because he's bringing up Batman in everyday conversation.
His second dad?
Yeah, it's like saying, yeah, you don't need to be like mom or dad. Instead of just saying, yeah, you don't need to be like me, kid. Like, you don't have to be wearing my suit to be a hero. Because Superman knows he's a hero. Like, he's not humbling himself by bringing Batman into this also. Right. He's just bringing Batman into this.
I've gotten used to the fact already that this is pre-New 52 Superman, an older Superman, a wiser one, a more motherly Superman.
Yes.
And we're getting more of that with Super Sons. I thought it was great. I think if you're picking up Superman already, this is an awesome companion book. Not only for the fact that it's the same writer, but it's got that same exact tone that we saw in the arc that I think was titled Super Sons in Superman, which is still the best standing DC Rebirth title. They had a bit of a dud in the last issue. It was a filler issue, as you like to call them. But aside from that, it's been such a fucking strong series.
I think, too, that this is a good comic book not just for adults, but for kids as well.
Absolutely.
So, yes, as adults, we're really enjoying it because it's fun to watch these two characters. But little kids can read this too. I mean, particularly little boys, and be like, yeah, cool. I want to be like, Jonathan. He's so cool and lame and whatever. or I want to be like Damien and, be super strong and wearing my bionic legs and shit. And
so far, too, the content hasn't been heavy. There hasn't been any blood or cursing or sexual content at all. So I almost feel like, I don't know if Tomasi has kids, but it's almost like, what would my son or daughter enjoy out of a comic book, and wrote that? Because this is definitely a book that I'm thinking, you can put this in the kids' corner. You can put this in regular DC adult comics, and it'll fit fine in both. If you're reading the current Teen Titans run also, not Teen Titans Go, but the one that's just Teen Titans with Damian Wayne, it's got that same type of tone, although Teen Titans, I think, is aimed at a slightly older crowd than Super Sons. Super Sons is perfect. And so far, I can tell you with number 1, if you have kids that don't like the kids' comic books, they want to get a book with, mom or dad that's from the main section, or a DC comic that's currently ongoing, you read Superman. Your kid can read Super Sons number 1. I don't know what number 2 is going to have, or 3, but so far it doesn't look like it's going to be a dark or brooding or violent book. And don't forget, too, if you are getting Super Sons, Dustin Nguyen is doing all of the variants for Super Sons number 1. So we're buying that book twice.
Of course we are. No reason not to.
It's Dustin Nguyen. If you like The Sender, you know who fucking Dustin Nguyen is. But that will also do it for our comic book highlight of the week and the show. Episode 231, Under Wraps. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, Pinterest. For a link of everywhere you can find us, head on over to the newly launched TheReasonsI'mBroke.com, and you can find the link to everywhere you can find us.
So thank you guys so much for tuning in to the show. Whether it's your first episode or your 231st episode, we appreciate each and every one of our listeners who tune in and help us make this a reality.
Thank you, Brokettes. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly.
We'll see you next week.